Welcome to this series of videos about usability in video games. I am a professor of human-computer interaction, and in these videos I try to combine my passion for research with my love for video games. Usability is the discipline of computer science that focuses on everything that surrounds the design and ease of use of computer systems or user interfaces, and how end users, that is you, interact with them. Like many of you, for the past month I have been playing Starfield. And while I've been having some fun, the UI could definitely be improved. Hopefully, many of the issues that I will be talking about will be fixed in the near future by either Bethesda themselves or some other. I hope that this video can serve as inspiration, so without further ado, let's start from the first usability problem. Let's talk about the main missing features in Starfield, the map. There is no 2D overhead map of your surroundings, nor a minimap. The scanner interface does provide you with a map of the surroundings, but it's not very helpful when you are in a city. The only help you get is through actual signs, like in a real city, to help you reach some of the landmarks. But there aren't signs for everything, and the layout of the cities doesn't always follow real-world city planning layout logic. In the real world, you would also typically be using a smartphone map application to help you navigate towards your desired destination. Starfield is instead set in the future, so the absence of a map is even harder to explain. And Bethesda gave us information kiosks, like those we can find in shopping centers, and even there will likely be an overhead map to show you the location of all the stores. But in Starfield, we only get a list of shops and other landmarks with the districts they are in. But good luck in finding them if you don't know where they are and the signs that don't help you. It's hard to believe that a game with a budget of hundreds of millions of dollars was okay in providing players with just a text list of these points of interest. This is just something that some person typed, like with a keyboard, and this was approved as one of the main wayfinding methods in the game, which is very strange, because even back in my days, when the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall was released, there were maps. And indeed, here we are in Daggerfall. You could open up the map, which had information associated with the colors of the various building shapes, and you could even ask for directions. Here, let me show you. So in Daggerfall, when you find an NPC to talk with, the dialogue interface allowed you to ask about various topics, provided that you had discovered their existence. Or you could ask for direction, as you can see from the upper left part of the interface. You could ask them to point you to the nearest store or the nearest tavern. And you will see a list of all the choices that are available, and the NPC would answer by pointing you in an approximate direction. Thanks, Doniver. The game even had a three-dimensional map when you were in a dungeon. The problem was that it was very difficult to orient yourself due to the procedural nature of the generated dungeons, no? And this was in fact one of the reasons that Bethesda in Morrowind abandoned this way of generating content and opted for a more handcrafted version of the world. But here it is, a fully three-dimensional map in Daggerfall from 1996. I don't know if you know, but through the scanner interface you can fast travel to the markers that are placed around you. It's a bit difficult to point at them with a mouse or the gamepad because you have to be very accurate, but with a bit of luck you will actually catch the marker. Yeah, here it is. So here it says commercial district, and there are other markers all around you, but you have to find them, no? So let's turn around. Yeah, here's another one. There's the lodge. Here's the residential district, and so on. So let's say that you want to go back to your ship. You have to find a marker for it. And since there is no help for you to find these markers, you have to actually hunt all around your view to find the corresponding marker. And they are not all to your side, but it can also be up and down. In fact, here's my ship marker, the shield breaker. So this could have been easily improved by placing some arrows, for example, around the circular part in the center of the screen, so that it tells the user that there are other markers that are not currently in your view and the direction in which you have to move your view in order to find them. Now let's talk about the galaxy map in Starfield. If you don't have a marker for a specific mission and want to go to a star system, It's very difficult to find them because, as you can see, some of them do have labels like Sol, Alpha Centauri, Narion. There are some icons that tell you, for example, here there is an outpost and so on. But if you want to go to a specific star system, how do you find it? No, the labels are not shown. There is no button to display all the labels. No? And even if there were some occlusion problem, no? there surely are many algorithms that can rearrange the labels so that they are all visible. So a few days ago I wanted to go to a specific star system because I heard there was a mission that was very interesting, but you first had to go in that system in order to start the quest. And since I didn't have any marker, I spent a bit of time in trying to find a specific star system. So if you have played Elite Dangerous, you know that there are like hundreds of thousands of star systems there. And can you imagine having to find a star system by going through everyone? No, indeed, there is a more usable solution in that game that allows you to select a system through filters. No, you can even search for by its name, and yeah, that addition here would have been very helpful. Not just let me type the name of the star system I'm interested in if I'm using the mouse and keyboard, or some other keyboard-like interface if you're using the gamepad. That would have saved me some time. So let's talk about the mission tab in Starfield UI. This is basically just a list of all the missions that you have accepted in the game, and they are conveniently already grouped depending on whether they are a main quest, a faction quest, or perhaps a bounty hunting contract that you have accepted. However, I think there's one tab that is definitely missing, and its inclusion would surely have helped a lot of players. And this tab should be the location tab. So a filter that basically selects all the missions that are relevant to the place you currently are in, so that you see all of them in a convenient tab of this mission interface. Because the problem is that from the title and the descriptions, it's not always possible to understand or to guess where the mission takes place. For example, this one mentions Earth, so of course you will know where to go. But for example, this one mentions the seismic sensors in I have no idea where it is. And you can see from the list that there are like two spirits. It's like some designers have evidently decided to include the name of the system or the location with different formats. Here are parentheses, here there aren't. But some other mission designers have decided maybe that's not necessary. So, and this is something that has happened in other parts of the game as well. So for those missions where you don't know where to go, the only way will be to press the Show on Map button, which will bring you to the location where you need to fast travel. Then you need to press multiple keys or to hold one of the keys to go back. So this adds some further complication for the user, and it requires the user to basically waste some time. So what I found myself doing is sometimes when I am in New Atlantis or Neon, a place where I know that there are many missions that take place here, is to go to the mission tab and to check all the descriptions to guess whether there is something that I can do there. But as I said, this is not something that I can always guess easily, because sometimes the description doesn't help. And there's this tab here that is basically not doing anything. It just lists activities that you have done, and even here it's even worse. Like, where do I need to go? It doesn't mention any description here. So this activity could be placed somewhere else, maybe in MISC or something. If the problem was the space, So perhaps this one tab or another tab could be added to show the missions that are relevant just for the location where you find yourself. And maybe this is something that a mod or even Bethesda themselves could add to the base game in the near future, hopefully, because I don't think it's a very complicated feature to add from a technical perspective. The game will know where each step of a mission takes place, and therefore they can easily build a filter to show only the location relevant missions. Let's talk about crafting, and I think that this is a part of the game that definitely could be improved. So, you know that you can research projects that enable you to craft various things, such as buildings, mods for your weapons or spacesuits, and so on. In order to do so, you need to find some resources that could be raw materials or other craft components. Problem is that while you can track a crafting project, which will show a particular material highlighted by a magnifying glass when you talk with a vendor. The game doesn't tell you how many items of a particular resources you need in order to be sure that you can then craft the required number of components when you go back to your crafting station. So you either have to guess or buy more than you need. The problem is this combined with the fact that you don't have a lot of inventory space, makes it an effort. So you have to go back and forth with your spaceship, and that creates another frustration, another opportunity for wasting time. It would have been very simple to have a little tab in the vendor interface that showed you how many titanium you need or whatever. There is surely enough space in this inventory screen. So this is related about the way the game uses to portray informations about how much damage a particular weapon does. And it does so by showing us a number and the type of damage, whether it's physical, whether it's energy based, whether it's the non-lethal kind of damage, and it shows a number. But I think it would have been better to show the damage per second, not the so-called DPS number, which I think it would have been easier to compare damage across different weapons. I think the game is supposed to show this by combining the actual number for the damage and the rate of fire. So you would have then to guess whether it's best to use a weapon that does little damage for each hit, but has a faster rate of fire. But when I'm playing Starfield, I don't want to do these calculations. No? I don't want to do this kind of comparison by myself. It should be the game that helps me in comparing two weapons between each other, unless I have misinterpreted the interface. But again, if it has happened, then this is again a problem of the UI, because it should be designed in such a way that it doesn't lead users or players to make mistakes. And so in this case, I think DPS would have been a better choice. Now, the ship builder interface, I found it a bit frustrating because I think it fails at communicating clearly to the user what they need to be doing and why. So, for example, from my Kerbal Space Program days, I know that, of course, I need like a cockpit and then some engines and other structural elements to connect the components together. But here I was trying to add another part of this spaceship that I was building from scratch. And as you can see, it doesn't let me connect some of the elements together, and doesn't tell me why though. No, it just says, okay, there are 9 errors. But for example, I can't connect this whole element to the cockpit, and so I don't know how to proceed. How am I supposed to guess what to do next? The only answer is perhaps that I need to go online and look it up, but it should not be up to somebody else to explain how your interface works. It should be you, the game, to tell me what I need to do. And it does some of it by showing you the connection points and turning green when an item is connected correctly. But for example, if you connect multiple stuff together, it doesn't have the same conventions that Kerbal had. Like if I connect multiple elements together, I maybe expect to move all of them together like it was in that game, because I think that was a very good and usable solution. And another problem is, for example, here in the list of components, like why does it show me only the next 2 components? There are so many that an overview is clearly necessary. But nonetheless, I've seen, like on Reddit, people that have managed to create very complicated spaceships. So maybe it just needs an instruction manual. Let's talk about Outposts. I think this is a part of the game that would have deserved more. I don't think it offers quite the same experience as Fallout 4 or No Man's Sky. And part of the reason is that I don't think it offers you the proper tool to be able to create a visually compelling space. I would have liked to create a home away from home with furniture, crafting stations, and so on. But I don't think that the first person view is the proper way to be doing such a job. If you imagine how did Starfield designers create the spaces that we can explore, they probably were not using a first-person view. They were using a typical top-down kind of view, like for example what you might have in Unity or Unreal Engine. You would perhaps be using a top-down view so that you can have an overview of the space that you are editing, and then there you have a lot of features like be able to snap objects to each other or to align them, and these kind of features are not there for you. And I think this makes it very hard to be able to create a space that looks nice. It requires a lot of patience, and you don't have the proper tools for the job. Exploration should have been one of the most important part of the game, if not the most important one. Now, we are used to Skyrim or Morrowind or Fallout to go on an adventure in the wilderness, and find caves or houses, abandoned facilities, and so on. And it's not quite the same experience in Starfield, partly because there are thousands of planets, and it's unrealistic, to have all of them crafted by hand. So they've used a lot of procedural generation, but at some point, the points of interest they tend to repeat themselves. Now, from a usability perspective, this becomes a problem in the moment that you don't have anything to do while traveling from one place to another. You only have to press the button and point at the direction where you want to go, and just hold the key or the thumbstick until you reach the waypoint. And the game doesn't give you any method to get there fast. There are no rovers, there are no horses, neither there are horse armor, so you just have to walk. And this is made doubly frustrating because of the oxygen CO2 mechanism. You can't even run for so long because then your oxygen is exhausted and you have to wait until your CO2 goes away, and so on. And if you are carrying stuff, maybe you found some loot that you want to carry back, then you have to be careful about what you bring and so on. So from an interface perspective, there's a need of introducing some transportation methods. If you can't fly, at least give us a rover, a bike, or a horse. Companions have long been a problematic area in Bethesda games, and the main issue here is that you don't have any way of issuing orders. No, you can't say that to them to, for example, attack this enemy, or go stand in this corner, go take cover, be stealthy, be aggressive, be at this kind of distance. For me, it's just not possible. And this makes certain types of game styles very difficult to do, like stealth. I haven't been able to be very stealthy, not just because of the fact that you might be wearing a spacesuit and that is not good for stealth, but because companions tend to ruin your plans. No? The game should, I think, provide you with the capabilities of deciding your tactics, but there's no way to do that, and so this makes the companion system just feel like an afterthought. No, they are there because they learned how to do them in previous games, but they're more an obstacle than a real help. And this is unfortunate for a game in which the companions play an important role for good or for worse. So these were some of the main usability problems that I found while playing Starfield. Hopefully, this highlights the importance of designing the game with a user in mind. Do you agree with some of these problems? If you found other usability issues or if there are other games you would like me to review, then do not hesitate to leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.